Thanks, Todd.
You're welcome.
No problem. You're not staying in class today. You just
I will stay for like 10 minutes for a quick check-in.
like you did last time. Okay, no, perfect. No problem. No problem. We don't have TAs on a Monday normally, so
Yeah.
it's part of get set up. We get used to it. I think it's because we are already in Monday and you are still on Sunday.
Yeah.
So that's why it works like that. But yeah, so we're off into gardening today. So this is a class that seems to be quite popular. So we'll see how we go. Yeah, I need. Oh, okay, Peggy's coming in, so that's fine. I was going to say I need somebody to be in class, otherwise my picture disappears. There's a problem with it. But Peggy's coming in, so that's fine. I will now take my security off. Hi, Peggy. Hi, Eileen. Lovely to have you. Hi, Vicky. Very nice to have you all joining me. Oh, here we go. There's Erez is coming in. Is it Erez? Is that correct, the pronunciation? Sorry, can you press your space bar? Just press your space bar, Erez, and then you can talk. If you keep your hand on your space bar, that's it. I still can't hear you. Todd, can you help Erez for me? Let me ask to unmute. Maybe Todd can help you with that. Right. Hi, Vicky. Lovely to have you in class too. And Peggy, lovely to have you too. And Eileen, great to have all of you with me today and being able to speak and hear you and enjoy time with you. All right. What do you think you want to get from this class? Who can tell me what they would like to get from this class?
Ideas.
Ideas, great. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's springtime, so your gardens are now coming alive.
No. It's autumn here where I am in Brisbane.
Oh, you're in Oh, yay, I've got another Aussie. I'm in Perth.
Oh, right. Good.
Oh, lovely to have you, Iris. How did you get to hear about Get Set Up?
Just online, Googling, and I'm very much into recycling and gardening and all that sort of thing. So
Fantastic. Well, let's hope you will get some ideas from it. Yeah, we're also in autumn, getting cool at night.
Yes.
So we are setting ourselves up. Right, let me start sharing my screen and let's oops, no, we're not sharing yet. I was being very naughty. I was looking at something on my presentation and I didn't go back to the beginning, which was not very clever. It's not how you start to share your screen. All right, that looks a lot more like it should. Great. So today we are doing upcycling, one of our upcycling classes, and our upcycling is, it always does that. We're going to be looking at things that we've got and finding new ways to turn them into something interesting in our garden. So we are changing the reason or the use of something by coming up with something new. So let's begin. We learn from each other, so ideally having your cameras on is great because then I can interact with you. Please, there is a nice small class. And so, yes, Todd.
So can you please start the video recording?
Thank you. Yes, I will. Let me just, Hold on. It was recording and I paused it, so let's just start it again. There we go. It started recording too early. All right, now, dear, this is a good start today for Rez. I'm not usually quite so discombobulated as I am today. Second class. Right, now, yeah, we learn from each other. You can always request a recording afterwards. And by requesting your recording, you will send you the link. It's help@getsetup.io, and they send you a link to the recording. If you're joining by live streaming, you can't interact. So if you want to be able to talk, you just need to sign up and you can join us. And if I do mention any products, it's not because we're getting paid for it. It's just something I use or I have. A little bit about me. I live in Perth, Australia, with my husband, Michael, who's also a guide. We've been here nearly 3 years now. We come from South Africa. I lived there for 63 years and then moved here to Australia to help look after my grandchildren. I love creating and making things, including any kind of puzzle. And I've been an educator for 44 years, but now working with Get Setup, I don't educate, I share. I share all the knowledge and the things that I have gained over the years as an educator, and I give you ideas that you might be able to use in your gardens. I have a great love of animals. That's why I've got my 5 animal series, and I really enjoy being a guide. Right. You can tell me, what do you do with your old boots? A drawer that has come out of something that's collapsed by now? The tires you take off your car, do you leave them at the tire place and when you put your new tires on? Please don't. There's so much you can do with them. Your old baking trays, teacups, and milk bottles or 2-liter cool drink bottles, 1-liter cool drink bottles. There's lots of things you can do with them in your garden too. Right. When we've had chairs for a long time, they start to get rickety. And then you're a little scared to sit on that chair because you really don't want to fall off and break your hip now, because that's not a good idea at our age. So what you need to do is find a new use for your chairs. So what you can do is paint them. If you're going to put them outside, paint them with a waterproof paint and any color that you desire. You can cut a hole in the seat of it and then just allow a pot to rest in it. Or you can get those hanging baskets that you put the hessian in that's all broken up, or coconut that's broken up. That can go in it as well, allowing the water to flow through. If you are wanting to have it indoors, then I would suggest you have a pot that has no hole at the bottom. You put stones into it with some gauze on top, and then your soil, so that the water can gather in amongst the stones and you don't drown your plant. But you can make your chair into the most beautiful feature in your garden or on your patio. So how many people have used a chair in a different way? Any of you? Has anybody used a chair?
No, not
No?
for a garden.
Hi, Noreen. Lovely to have you in class too.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Bright and breezy this morning, second class of the day, so I'm really wide awake now for this one, and running to go. Right, so there's a thought for you. How can I use the chair that I've grown fond of and I was about to put out on the pavement, or I was about to give away or just throw away? How can I use that in a more interesting way in my garden? Right, now let's see the next thing. Now, wood in your garden. Somebody might have cut down a tree, or you might have found some, where I live, I've got a little forest next to me. It's not very big, but it's big enough to have lots of trees in it. And I find the most fascinating wood there. And when my husband knows, when we go for a walk and I see a particular piece, then we're either going to go home and leave the dogs at home and come back if it's a big piece, or if it's small enough, I will carry it home. And then I put it within my garden. So you can, if it's a log, you can actually cut, just use a chisel or even a knife from the a flattish knife that you've got, because the wood inside is soft. So you just have to use a little hammer on it, hammer it, and you can then make a hole in your wood, put some soil. You can make a deep one in outdoor ones, not so deep in indoor ones, and then you can plant your plants. If you've only putting a little soil, then I would use a succulent. Otherwise, if you have got a lot of soil, the sky's the limit. The two pictures up at the top in the center, those are actually in my own garden. Those are pieces of wood that I have brought home and put into my garden. There's a third one, which I haven't photographed yet. I only brought it home yesterday. And that's going to stand on the patio because I want my garden to come into my patio. I've only got a little garden. It's like 4 meters by 7 meters. It's not big, but I have a variety of things in the garden. And so you've got all these different pieces of wood. You can just cut little holes in them and place them in different parts of your house or your outdoors. So don't just leave wood as wood. It can become a wonderful feature. As you can see, I collect gnomes. So I have gnomes all over my garden. They grow. Has anybody used wood before or thought of using wood?
Yes, I've got quite a few of those, quite a few. I've got some with bromeliads on them and epiphyliums, and quite a few with succulents and trailing things from the top. Yeah, I've got quite a few.
Ezra, won't you take some photos and send them to Liz? I'll tell you at the end where to send it. Then she can put it up on the web, and I can include them in my presentation as well. So that would be really great, because I've got a few things from people from the classes, and they really are awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, right. Now, odds and ends, things that we have. Old baskets. You're about to throw it out. The handle doesn't work. It's not quite as good as it should be. You can either put some nice, some plastic into it. That was Todd going. He was here just to set us up at the beginning. You can put some plastic in it, and you can then line it with plastic, put a few holes just so the water can drain through, and then put your either pots in it, or if you want to put soil in and then grow use your soil. And those going up a flight of stairs, on your patio, anywhere, really make such a beautiful.
Leave the door open for the cat.
Your cat's out, is it, Peggy?
Oh,
That's
I'm sorry.
nice.
I didn't know.
No, don't worry.
Oh, excuse me. I thought I was muted. How embarrassing.
No, don't be embarrassed at all.
I was going to say, on a chair, could you use it like in a garden chair, but let ivy grow around and up and all through it?
Oh, yes, definitely. You could make a stunning thing with your ivy. That might be a very
interesting arrangement. Rather than a trellis, you could use. Are you familiar with clematis?
Yes.
Okay, well, it's supposed to have something to climb up. Could you use a chair for a clematis?
Oh, yes. And then I would just help it by taking some little pieces of the garden wire that you get, that green garden wire, and just attaching it as it's growing, just to help it to stay
but I mean,
put.
kind of swirling it around, making it go in all different directions.
Yes, that's what you do. You can twist and turn.
Kind of winding it around the chair. That would be very interesting. That might be quite pretty.
I think that would look really, really pretty. But when it's needing a little bit of help just to sort of get itself to where it wants to go, don't be shy to just tie it to something, just till it's secured itself, and then you let it go.
Would it be all right to use yarn, or would that not work?
No, yarn's
I'm sure
fine.
wire would be better.
yarn or wire, anything that can just give it that little bit of help
I'm going to
on
try
staying
that.
place. I would. When it works, can you please send a photo? That would
Yeah,
be
sure.
awesome. Excellent. Awesome. I also have a watering can is another lovely one to work with. If you take your watering can, I take the nozzle piece off. And as I put some holes in the bottom of the watering can, put some soil, then I feed some ivy up the nozzle and put the roots in the soil and then continues up. Now your ivy grows out and trails out of the nozzle. It looks like it's pouring ivy. And that makes it really, really pretty if it's pouring ivy. I can see Ezra's got a lot of things growing in her garden. So that's awesome. I wondered why somebody had daytime. Right. And now also your colander. A colander works. Oh, she's gone to fetch it. Excellent. Ah, yes. Yeah. Well done. Lovely. That's awesome, Ezra. That's beautiful. She's been using her watering can to plant in. Your colander that you used when you had your kids and now it's looking maybe a little rusty, a colander works really well to be hung up and makes a beautiful container. I put some thin mesh inside just so that the soil doesn't come out, but the water does, and it works beautifully.
Do you do,
Now,
excuse me, but this is kind of changing stuff. Do you do fairy gardens?
fairy gardens, well, I do gnome gardens.
Oh, but I mean, so do you have a class on gnome garden?
No, but maybe I should. Maybe
Yeah,
I
cool.
should. Fairy
Cool
and gnome
idea.
gardens. I will put that forward to my bosses because they're
Okay,
wanting
cool.
new ideas. So I will certainly put that forward. That would be a lovely one. I'd enjoy doing that one. Now, this picture on the right-hand side has come from one of the people who was in my class last week. She upgraded her bathroom and both bathrooms, and so she's got a few toilets, and she's put them coming down from the garage down the path, and she's filled them with flowers. And some of her friends think she's crazy, but I think it's awesome. When I was in South Africa, there was a house in a place called Rouville, and they had all toilets and basins and bits and pieces, and I called it Louville because for me, this was just the most beautiful garden full of the most strange items in it. It just made for something really special. So don't throw out your old things. Think of how you can reuse them, particularly if you're a gardener, and think what can I put in it and how can I put in it? And you can always bring it to class and say, I've got this, what do I do? And you'll have everybody giving you ideas about what you do. So that is going to be great. Tires. I know that 90% of you, when you change your tires, say goodbye to the tires at the tire shop and off you go. Well, next time, don't do that because there is so much you can do with your tires. You can hang them on the wall with plants in them. I did that in South Africa. I'm too scared to do it in Australia because of the big ones, big spiders that we do get. We've had one in the garden, and every time I think of that, I don't want to put my hand in and find something that I don't want inside. So I haven't hung them on the wall here. But you can also take them, lift up the wall, the one wall of the tire. It's very easy to cut because it's quite thin. And you can cut it into scallops, you can cut it into diamonds. The sky's the limit as to what you cut it into. And then what you do is put some thin gauze across the bottom and put some rocks. So the gauze goes into the wall of at the bottom and put some rocks there to keep it nice and firm and then put your soil on top. And it really can make for a beautiful garden. You can even put one tire inside another tire and have like a two-tier garden. Really, really beautiful. When I was growing up, had a rockery. Now, to carry rocks at our age is a little bit much, but you can make it with tires. You can either color them all different colors or all the same color, and then have a variety of color flowing out of your rockery. or tirery, I suppose you would call it. Up at the top, I've got a beautiful little pond. In South Africa, I only had a small garden as well as like here, and I so wanted a pond. So I took a tire, the biggest tire I could get from the tire place. They're very happy to part with tires. So you go and I collect the biggest tire I could get. And then every time I went walking, I would collect stones because we lived out of the city. I'd go and collect stones, but you can buy them as well at the gardening shops. And I placed them round the tire. Once I was sure where I wanted to put the tire, I actually put cement. But until I was sure, I put thick plastic down and secured it with a lot of rocks, and it never leaked. But I eventually chose to put down cement because that's where I really wanted my garden. And then I took a solar pump and I put a solar pump so that the water was flowing through it. I just made one end higher with rocks and I had the water flowing through that way. And it really looked pretty. It was small. I tried fish, but the owls and the cats fancied the fish, so I gave up. And then I just put little ornaments around. But it was such a joy to sit outside and hear the water flowing. There's nothing nicer than that beautiful sound. How many of you have got water features in your garden? Any of you?
Nope, too dry.
Anybody? Have anybody thought of making a water feature? Well, with your even where you are, you would be Annie, you'd be able to if just refill it as it flows.
Yes, I've done that. I had a very big pond, but we're on tank water, and the seasons have not been very helpful.
No.
1 year it's flooding, the next year it's a drought. So I just got rid of them.
That's probably, but if you're doing a little one like that, that would not then, it would still give you the joy of the sound of the water. And it doesn't take up a lot of space or water, particularly when you're rationing your water.
I have a lot of bird baths. So I like to watch that because the birds get in there and have a bath and splash around, and that makes a lovely noise.
It does indeed. I'm hosting a coffee, I think it's this week, a social hour, Birds in My Garden. So you'd see a lot of your Australian birds that we have in our garden as well. So it would be home from home for you. But yes, the birds certainly do make it a lovely way of being able to do things. We get some amazing birds now in our garden. So that is awesome. You can shred your tire and put flowers in it. Or you can take your tires and paint them, fill them, and have, if it's only for a small family, you can put 2 or 3 herbs in the same tire, or you could have 1 tire per plant, per herb or per vegetable that you are making. And I took tires at school when I was teaching. I took tires and I planted potatoes. But those tires, I just split them once through so that when it had got up to, I think it was tire 4, I knew my potatoes should be ready at the bottom. I could actually pull the tire open. I needed a bit of help because it's quite strong, but you can pull it and then out comes the soil from underneath and the potatoes. And then you just put that tire on top. And then you just wait until it's growing, and then you open the bottom tire, pull out everything from underneath, take the soil, put it back, but take the potatoes out. And that's how we grew it. The kids loved it because then we made potato soup or roast potatoes or different things they really enjoyed. So that was a fun way of doing it. Have any of you used tires yet? Has anybody used tires? No? Anybody going to try using tires?
I put them around trees, but then I realized that wasn't a good idea. So,
well, now you've got some new uses for tires. They will certainly make for nice uses. You can also use your tires to make furniture, particularly outdoor furniture. If you're putting something at the bottom of a garden, just a tire with a piece of wood over it, making your seat, using a pallet for the table, and a couple of bricks underneath, and you've got a table out under a tree. If you don't want to sit so close to the ground, 2 tires on top of each other make it, and it works very well indeed. You can also make tires with cushions in them. The children love them. My grandchildren like using them, and the children at school love those.
For
They were
that one that they show, what is the? It's two tires, one on top of the other, and then the handles, and then the back. What is that back made out of? It looks like
it's another tire.
Well, but I mean, it's got holes in it. It's like a.
What they've done is they've taken strips of tire, of the inner wall of tire, and secured them at the top, at the bottom with bolts, and woven them into each other.
Okay, so they didn't just cut out pieces of the tire.
No.
So you say they wove them.
They
wove
them.
Weave,
yeah.
Just like you would you would braid.
Yes, absolutely. In, out, secure at the end with
and then would that
bolt.
be safe that's safe to sit in?
Yeah, I've sat in those. They're actually quite comfortable.
Well, it looks like it would be, but I just didn't know if it was secure enough.
No, it is. You remember, your tire is strong. Your tire wall is strong, and then and you just secure it with nuts and bolts, and it really is quite comfortable and
That's cool.
Quite safe to sit on.
What kind of paint do you use to paint them?
I use acrylic. Acrylic works very well on tires. Acrylic works very well on most things, and it gives it that nice sort of shine to it as well.
And then do you have to put some type of a finish over the top?
I didn't. I just put the acrylic and left it. I didn't add anything to it. When it starts to look a little bit, when it's worn a bit, then I just give it another coat. But it takes a year or two before you have to do that.
That's neat.
It is a neat chair to put in the garden. If you've got a dog that eats its bed, tires are wonderful. It takes a very long time to chew through a tire. Although with my 2 little mutts that I've got, they can chew through things pretty quickly. I've got 2 French bulldogs, and they've got incredibly strong teeth when it comes to devouring anything, including blankets. Hey, bear.
And your toes.
Oh yeah. And socks. I've got a sock fiend. I've got a dog who loves socks. Even if it's hanging out of the washing machine, he'll grab it and he's gone. So you've got to watch your socks in my house. Right. The other set of chairs that is very nice is you need 3 tires for 2 chairs. So you have your chair. 1 tire is your base. You fill it with some foam rubber, or even just a whole lot of cushions that you've pushed together and made a nice cover over them. And then the back is half a tire. And then you get foam rubber to put in that half tire, and you secure it with nuts and bolts again. And then you can put little legs on it. You buy those in the hardware store.
So the legs are made of wood?
Yeah, they're wooden legs. Well, those ones are. That belonged to a friend of mine made one very, very similar to that. This isn't theirs, but it was very, very similar and actually quite comfortable. I would have preferred 2 layers at the back, just because I like to sit against something rather than just having the bottom of my back secured. So I think if I made them, I'd put 2 layers. Might not look as attractive, but it'll be more comfortable for me. Outdoors, if you've got space and you want to put a table, a wonderful thing to do is to take 2 tires and a piece of glass. And what I do in the bottom tire is I put some thick plastic inside, because then when it looks like rain, all I do is grab the tires and grab the cushions, lift up the glass, toss the cushions inside, put down the glass, and my cushions are nice and dry no matter what. Then if the sun does come out and I want to use them, lift it up, take out these nice dry cushions and put them out. It saved me many a cushion when I lived in South Africa, because the rain would come suddenly and it was so quick and easy. Lift up, toss in and run back inside. And then they are where they are. So that is also another use. For family coming and for near the pool, this Tyre chair is incredibly comfortable. I didn't think it would be, but it actually is. And you have 3 tires to sit on and 1 at the top, and a smaller tire in the center to hold the 3 tires together. And then you just put a piece of glass on top or a piece of wood on top of your table, and they've got a lovely table to sit on. If they come out of the pool dripping wet, they just plonk themselves on the tire. It doesn't, they don't mess on a chair or anything. And as I said before, it's actually comfortable to sit on. So that's another form of furniture. Anybody going to try some of these ideas?
Yeah, sounds neat.
Great. Now, if you've got grandchildren and they come to visit, or if your family have space, they can maybe start making some Tyre furniture for the children, playground furniture. My son has in South Africa has built himself this one. He's only got 2 layers at the moment because my grandson's 2.5. And so what we've done is he'll continue to build. He's got the wood, but he won't put the tires up just yet. He'll put them up as he grows and as his little sister grows. So they'll put the tires up on there. But he loves climbing on it. You can have a lovely tire swing. You can build a king of the castle place for them to play on, sand pits. If you've only got a small area and you just want somewhere for a small child to play, you can make it in summertime, it's a pool, in wintertime, it's a sand pit. And then you just cover it over with a piece of wood like a tic-tac-toe, and then they can play on it, sit on it, and they can't drown in it. So it's just...
They can what in it? They can what in it?
They can sit in it, they can't drown in it if you've covered it up. Because that's one thing you've always got to be careful of. So if you put something like a piece of wood like tic-tac-toe over it, then that then covers it and they'll sit on it.
Oh, so there was water on the inside of
it? That one, I've seen people take the big tire and then just cut a piece of wood the right size to put over the top. Makes a lovely table for them to sit at when they want to eat their lunch.
And then what do you do with the water in it?
You keep the water underneath, and when you're finished with the water, then you would empty the water out every few days or whatever.
What do you want? What is the purpose of having water in it?
For when they want to swim, but when they're not swimming. No, it's big enough for the little ones to sit in and splash in and play in.
But you couldn't really swim in it.
No, it's like a splash pool for little children. Oh,
cool. And then you have to change that water pretty often, right?
Not too often, not unless they do what they want to do in the water. But then you could take the hose and just overfill it, and then all the extra.
But it doesn't get stagnant. It doesn't get stagnant.
Not at least sort of for 2 to 3 weeks. You can certainly leave it, particularly if you cover it at night, so no insects, animals can go into it. Then it doesn't take too long to do. And if you're worried about stagnant, you could maybe put a little pump in there that just pumps the water around when nobody's in there. But it's a lovely way of having a little splash pool for little kids. They really enjoy their splash pool. And it's safe. Right, now for us. How about the things that we have? You can always go and get pallets at any of the places where food or articles or equipment is delivered. Your big supermarkets, they have hundreds of pallets around the back. And once a pallet is cracked at all, that pallet is discarded. So you can go and collect a pallet that is almost perfect. It might have a slight crack in something, but that doesn't worry you because you can then use it. You can turn your pallet both ways. You can have it with the what I call the little trays facing outwards, and that you can put your rosemary, your thyme, because remember, if you've got a small area, it stays small. If you put it in a big soil pot, it's going to grow big. I have one basil indoors. I bought them together. It's in its little pot, original pot, growing very nicely. I put the other one outside in a big pot, and it's nearly 2 meters high. So it depends on your size of where the roots can grow as to how big it grows. So if you want it small, just enough for you to be able to go and take yourself some water. We often have water in a jug, and we either put lemon in it, we put mint in it, we put basil in it, or we put lemon and mint or lemon and basil. It makes the water taste really, really nice. So you can experiment with those. Your old baking trays, you can just make a hole in them and bolt them onto a pallet, and this time the pallet is facing the other way, so it's got the flat slats facing out, and then you can bolt it on and you just make some holes at the bottom because you don't want your plant to drown. And there you've got now a tray for you to be able to grow. You can do round ones, you can do long ones, you can do square ones. It really doesn't matter. And then those can be used out in your garden. Your parrot cage or your budgie cage, it's living in the garage now or it's up in the attic. Take it out, dust it off, give it a coat of paint, and plant in the bottom. You've no idea how pretty it looks hanging up. I found one in Salvo's one day and it was really beautiful. And I made it up to go into my son's garden. And it hangs there on the eaves and it looks so attractive. Just taking your old cage and turning it into a beautiful flower garden. You can take a drawer from something that's collapsed, fill it with sand, and put your I usually put succulents in because the wood can get, if there's too much moisture, the wood will eventually rot quicker than if I put plastic and only put a little bit of water at a time. You can also use your shoes. My stepdaughter, she doesn't wear shoes. She only wears sneakers. And for her wedding was no exception. She also wore sneakers. Now she's got them in the lounge or the living room of her house, and she's put a little pot plant into them. And it's just someone that she can spray so that it doesn't destroy her shoes. And she now has them as a feature in her living room. Your teapots and milk jugs and so on that you have, you can plant anything in them. Just remember to put some stones at the bottom because there's no hole at the bottom. And then put your soil so that you don't drown them. Let them have so that the water can fit between the stones and so you're not drowning your plants. Only water them when they look as if they need water, because there's no hole for drainage. So here are a few more ideas. Anybody got any ideas, any thoughts? All right. Okay, I hope you're getting one or two ideas that you would like to try.
I went to a friend's house today, and he had an old bed out in his yard, and he said, and put roses, and he said that was his bed of roses.
What a lovely idea! I think that's awesome.
It was a metal bed, and he put roses down and put 2 pieces of wood and metal pieces to the wood and had the roses inside.
Was it pretty?
It was
pretty?
nice. Yes, it was.
Oh,
were they all the same color?
Well, the flowers hadn't bloomed yet. They weren't blooming yet, but he had
So
about,
that
I
would
guess
be
about,
that would be a lot of roses, wouldn't it? A lot together.
quite a few. Yeah, you would put quite a few together. These are 2 roses out of my own garden. It's the final bloom of the roses. That's from the one, and they all. I only have scented roses, and this one has been going for 2 weeks now, and it's still blooming. It really is so beautiful. I have to pick them because some of the honeybirds go for the buds. They actually dig in the buds of the roses. So I pick them as soon as they look as if they're about to start opening so that I can enjoy them. Otherwise, they're gone in a day. All right. Now, how many of you have got a wall that's got the 3 holes in it at the top? Doesn't look that great. Plant a succulent in them. And you also get succulents that trail. So you can take the succulent and put the succulent into the hole and then let it trail down your wall as well. We're busy doing that in my front garden at the moment. You can take your paint pots, paint them white or a color that you like, put some rickrack or bobbles on them, and so that gives them texture on the bowl, on the actual pot, and you can hang it up or just have it as a feature with different plants in it. If you do planting of seeds, then I used to have all my seeds in my drawer, and I'd forget what seeds I've got, and then I would buy more and then discover I already had those seeds. So if you take a shutter and you then peg it onto the shutter, an old shutter, you can peg all the seed packets and you can see, oh, I've got that one. I'll use this one today and I'll use that one. If you don't have a shutter, you can take an old picture frame, put string across the picture frame and peg them onto that. And so you have a picture frame filled with all your seeds, seed packets in it. Actually makes a very attractive feature. I have mine outside and I can see what my husband's the one with the green fingers, not me. I know what I want and I'll tell him what I want and he does it and he talks to the plants and they grow. You can use old suitcases, you can use old furniture, and the one that I use a lot is a ladder. I don't only use it to put plants on. If I've got visitors coming and there's not enough space on the table for the food, I take the ladder, put up the ladder, put some wood across the ladder with some serviettes on it, and I place the food on the ladder. And then the people can help themselves to the food that they want and come and sit at the table. So it works very nicely.
When it's, excuse me, but when, like, say you put that chair or that ladder out, it's wood. All right, well, when it turns cold, like now it's spring, moving into summer, but say for the winter, then do you need to bring that wooden chair inside or do you just leave it out all winter?
I've always left it out, but I don't think we get as cold winters as you do.
So if you have a cold winter, you should probably bring that item inside.
If you can, but I don't think it would be a problem because it's beautiful. It's been you've painted it with a waterproof acrylic paint, so that if it snows or whatever, it shouldn't affect it.
Oh,
it
so that
be able to stay out.
It would be easier to just leave it out.
Yeah, I would leave it out, quite honestly.
So it's waterproof acrylic.
Waterproof acrylic. And then I don't see any problem with your them being able to be left out in the snow and what have you.
Well, that's a good idea.
Great. See if it works. We're almost at the end now. We've got to our bottle hanging gardens. You can use your bottles in many different ways. You can use them horizontally and just cut a hole in them and put the plants hanging down and they can cascade and look like a waterfall coming down. Or you can put your vegetables in there. You can also take the bottom of a bottle, the top of the bottle, turn it upside down, and you can use that as well to hang things in. You just make a hole and put an S-shaped hook into it. And then if you're thinking that it might be too much water, you just loosen the cap slightly and the excess water will come out. And then you can just tighten your cap again and allow it to go.
And how many bottles is that?
What for the one in the center, the hanging one?
Yeah.
I think the one I made it a few years ago. I think it depends on the size of the. I took one of those plastic trays that you put down and then you put your pot plant on top of it. I used that as my top. And so depending on how big your top is, you would then work out how many bottles. I think I had 8.
So what is the top? What is the top thing?
It's a plastic container that you put on the ground that you're going to put your pot plant in, so that the pot plant
Oh.
doesn't leak
Oh,
all over
okay.
your table or that. That's what I
Okay,
used
yeah.
as my base. So your
Okay.
base can be any size. So you choose your size, and then you
Mhm.
choose your bottles to go with it. And then your
Mhm.
top ones are enough to do the bottom altogether. So as long as your top is circled, that you don't need any more, because the bottoms then fit in below very comfortably. I used fishing gut for that, and it worked very well. And then I didn't put soil, I just put water, and I had water plants hanging in there.
And so what kind that you have to have water plants, right?
I chose water plants to put in there, yeah. And they plants that like to grow in water. And there are a lot of plants that you didn't realize actually prefer growing in water instead of growing in soil. If you go to your local nursery, they'll show you a lot of plants that you've always only traditionally thought of as being a soil plant.
Hmm.
And they will tell you, no, that grows beautifully in just water. Because
Hmm.
remember, hydroponics, they're growing in water. And you just put a little bit of extra fertilizer into it to keep it really, really liquid fertilizer, to just keep that water
Hmm.
going and giving them the nutrients they require.
Hmm.
So it really does work well to make one like that. So there are lots of different things you can do with your bottles. You can hang them outside on a trellis, and then it divides part of your garden into different parts of the garden. You can hang them on your pallets again. You can hang them to close off a wall that's looking a bit ugly. You can actually hang all different ones down it and make it look really attractive. And you can also take your 10-liter water bottles, cut a hole in them, and they can become wonderful vegetable gardens. So you can just have them in a row and move them around, because those, if it's getting too hot in one place, you can move them to somewhere else that's slightly cooler that you need them. They're movable containers and easy to work with. Right. Any questions at the moment? Anybody got any questions? All right. Anybody got ideas? Always open to new ideas that people like. The bed and your watering can, Annie, was lovely as well. So please, anybody with more ideas, I'm only too happy to learn new ways.
I have a few wheelbarrows that I planted up with succulents.
Oh,
Lots
nice.
of old wheelbarrows. Yeah. And wooden containers, bowls that they've rotted or got holes in them. So I've made them in containers for my succulents. All sorts of things. What else have I got?
I can see you've got a beautiful garden behind you, Annie. That's awesome.
That's it. Very big garden. I'm on 5 acres, but the garden is only about 2 acres, maybe.
But that's big.
That's big, yes.
That's a big garden. Wow, yeah. That's a very big garden to be able to work with. Sure, that's a very big garden indeed. Right, now, oops, I've gone to the wrong one. Let's just share what I want to share my screen with you. Right, now continuing with this, the last thing are some ingenious ideas that I've found along the way. When you're working with your 2-liter milk container, all you do is, you can see in the picture, you take where the handle is and you go round it. And this makes a lovely little shovel. Not if the soil is soft, it's perfect to use. If you sowing seeds, it's wonderful to sow seeds with it, because it lets them go out very nicely. But it's a very useful little shovel to have around in the garden, and just made out of your 2-liter milk container. You're again working with your milk bottles. You can make yourself a whole series of coasters to go outside, all different designs. You can put them onto tables as well. If you've got a table that's not looking so good, you can stick them all onto the table and put that sort of putty between them. So you'd put a thick layer and then squidge them into it. It works beautifully and makes a lovely tabletop. You can do it with the metal ones as well. You can, if you've got a plant growing and it's not growing quite as well as it should, you'd like it to be kept warm or what, you can just put a 2-liter bottle top on top, leave the top open for the air. Once it's taken, you can take it off, and now your plant is ready to go. Extra sprinkler, just put holes in your bottle, and if you put holes on the top, it gives you a wide spray. If you put your holes all together near the bottom, it gives you quite a strong jet spray as well. Now, I find that my secateurs, I'm forever leaving them outside and they get rusty. So I've made a miniature here, but I do it with a 2-liter bottle. I take 2 2-liter bottles. The one I keep it as big as I can, and the other one I only use a little bit at the bottom of it. And then all you do is you take a zip. You find a zip that is the right size to go round the bottle. And all you do is glue one side of the zip to the one bottle and one side of the zip to the other bottle. And then you can put your things inside, you zip them up, and now my secateurs can stay outside and they don't go rusty because I put them back, because the thing is right there. It's easy to just pop them in, and I can put anything. You can put crayons in it. You can put anything you want to. If the bottle is big enough, you can put all your barbecue equipment in it. You can just put anything you like into this. It is such a nifty, easy thing to make and do. Just find a zip the right length and you've got your container. If you wear galoshes, you can plant in them after you've outgrown them or the grandchildren have outgrown them. You've also got your bottles. You can build a retaining wall with bottles. It's far stronger than a brick wall. It doesn't collapse at all. And so you can really build a really strong retaining wall with that. And if you're wanting to build up a vegetable patch, you don't want to bend down anymore, build it up with bottles and then fill it from there. And you'll find that you are able to then have a higher garden and be able to work with that. And you can make seats for the backs of chairs that have collapsed that have now got too old and have collapsed.
How did you make those pot holders or those coasters?
All I did was I found a piece of plastic, but you can use material, you can use anything. This was thin cutting boards. You got 5 in a pack. And so what I did was take the shape that I wanted to make, and I used the milk bottle tops. I stuck them together and onto the back plastic. And now they are available to be used outdoors.
That's like about 8 milk.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 round and 1 in the center. 7.
How do you connect them?
Just with glue. You just stick them together with glue.
And is there a special type of glue?
No, you can use a glue gun or any glue that says, I usually go for a multi-purpose glue that says multi-grip, strength and versatile, all-purpose glue.
And then you painted those, right?
No, these are milk bottle tops. These are blue milk bottle tops from the blue milk bottles. You've got green ones from the green ones, and this one came off a different one. And so I just used the different bottle
that's
tops
really cute.
that I had to make it. And it's very versatile and easy to have. Outside and inside, but outside can be rained on. It doesn't matter, and it can survive out there. Very, very easy to put together, and you can make all sorts of designs with it as well. I think I've got lots of them in my upcycling mementos class that I do. So there are lots of ideas with your milk bottle tops and your cool drink tops as well. Right. Well, thank you everyone for being in class with me today. If you've got any photos you'd like to send in, please send them to liz@getsetup.io. She will happily pass them on to me and put them on her blogs and her pages that she does for the company. Other classes that I do are boredom busters for seniors, upcycling mementos, me time with toilet rolls, me time with paper and tin cans, and me time with popsicle sticks and pegs. All things we can make with those. And so we've got lots of different classes that we do with all the different things in them as well. So thank you for that. And you will get some notes. It will give you a feedback, a link to a feedback. It will also, my email will also tell you how to get a recording. And I will give you some other ideas of classes, but they're not necessarily related. We get a choice of 10, and sometimes they're very arbitrary and they're nothing to do with me. I try and guess ones that I think you might enjoy. And then when you book, there's a new feature now that says invite a friend, and you can invite a friend. And that's great to have with you, is a friend with you. And then you can share your learning. And lastly, if you've got anybody that you know of or any groups of people who might benefit from joining the Get Set Up, please feel free to let us know at help@getsetup, and they will be contacted so that they can join us too. All right. So
Thank you very much.
Thank you for
Thank you.
being in class. I hope to see you all again. Thanks, Peggy. Thanks, Annie. Bye
Thank
for
you.
now.